Hi, and welcome to episode 171 of the We Are Yarn podcast. My name's Amanda. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm going down to the drugstore, buy a big old skeiny yarn. I'm gonna knit me a kitten, even if you don't give a darn.
So, I've decided I'm going to start a new trend in podcasting. Ice Cream Social. Tonight, Ice Cream Social. It is July the 26th of 2018. And I hereby proclaim this Podcaster Ice Cream Social Day. I'm starting it. It's a thing. So, pause me. Go get your ice cream. I'll be here when you get back. I'm sorry, there's a cat on the bed. There may be a little camera motion. I apologize. What's your flavor? Semi-sweet chocolate chip. It's so good. Okay. We just got home from a lovely dinner out with family and laid the child down for bed. Turn the monitor down a little bit so you can't hear that. And he's surprisingly staying in bed. He's learned how to open doors now. It's too much. So, it is episode 171. It's been over 3 weeks since I had the opportunity to sit down and chitter chat with you. So I tried to narrow the conversation down. So let's get started. First off, let's talk about my year-long sweater-along. If you're new, I feel like I need to explain this a little bit. So, I divided the year into 4 quarters. And my personal goal is to knit a sweater in each quarter. My definition of a sweater is at least like 3/4 length sleeves, covering the body, most of the body, okay? So, I have knit the Malin by Isabel Kramer. I have knit another sweater, the Lemongrass by Joji Locatelli. And now, this was kind of an impromptu knit, but it counts. Like, it meets those criteria. This is it's spelled D-E-S-C-H-A-I-N, and I was informed, sorry about the movement, go cat, go. I was informed that is French. I looked it up. It is a French surname, pronounced Deschamps. I feel a little bit like an idiot having said Deschain forever, but it's finished. So here it is. It has sleeves and the body, and here's the back. Alright, so this lovely, what would you call this, kind of a dusty purple sweater is knit out of Cotlin, which is a Knit Picks yarn. It is a cotton linen blend, good for summer. It is a DK. The pattern calls for worsted, Aran, linen. You know me. I don't swatch. I just don't. But I saw where someone else had knitted one of these out of a DK weight and gone down to a US 9 and a cheap gauge. And I decided to go down to a US 9 and hope that I achieved some kind of gauge. Ice Cream Social, are you having yours? So I knit the size small. I was very limited on yarn. This colorway, this dusty purple, is, I think it was called Lantana. And I had it very near 10 years. even if it's available, even if there are D-stashes, I don't think the lots are going to be the same. I'm not even going to try. So I had a limited quantity and I needed to make it work. So I went down to a 9 and I cast on the small size, which, I don't have my pattern here with me, which I think maybe says it'll fit a 34-inch bust. But that's with some ungodly amount, like, I don't know. I don't even remember how many inches of ease you had on this lovely sweater. So, it's like, you know what? It's smaller yarn. I'm knitting the smallest size. 34 inches is not my bust size. But I have so much ease that I don't think it's going to matter. I really don't. It may affect where the sleeves hit just because, you know, it's... But, I'm just going to go with it. So, my circumference of the sweater is 50 inches around, roughly. The schematic says it should be 54¼ inches around. So I'm only off by 4 inches. And on this wide of fabric, you know, on 25 inches wide fabric, flat, I don't think that's too bad. I did wear it hits me high hip, I'd say. And it looks really nice. I wore a camisole under it, a white camisole that kind of came down over my bum, and then just some capri pants. And it just looked right cute. I was reminded that this yarn was machine washable. So I washed it in the machine, and the spin cycle really threw all of the water out of it. It didn't take as long to dry as I expected. In the East Tennessee heat. And also, if you are joining me again, I'm so glad to have you back. But if you'll recall, let me fold it up where I can kind of see what I'm doing. You can still sort of see how my gauge was very uneven there, and then got more even as time went on. And I am a firm believer, okay, that could be two things. It could be my place in life at the time was a little shaky. It could also be, and improved as I moved down the sweater, and it could also be that the major modification I made was two major modifications. One, I knit flat to 2 repeats of the lace, and then I joined in the round, and then I knit the back the same length and joined in the round for the body. It is written for 2 separate pieces to be seamed, and I just wasn't feeling that. I was supposed to stop before those 2 repeats, but I didn't. I got excited about the lace and got to the end of the second repeat, and I was past the number of inches I should have been. But that's okay, it worked out. The number of stitches I had to pick up ended up being exactly the number for one of the other sizes. So I followed the directions for decreasing the sleeves for that other size. Also, because I wanted to use up all my yarn, I only knit the sleeves until I was at the end of the decrease, and then I followed the instructions for the bind off instead of knitting to a certain number of inches. My child's getting out of bed. I'll be right back.
I can't keep it.
Okay, let's go. Teddy bear, let's go to bed. Okay, after I return from getting my child back in the bed, if you don't mind, quickly, I'm going to move the monitor in front of me so I'll see if he gets out of the bed again before I hear the door open. Okay, if I recall correctly, I was explaining how I had modified the sleeves on my Dishon by Leela Rabe. And out of Knit Picks Cotton, Lantana colorway, which is a nice dusty purple. US 9s. So I think I was supposed to have stopped at something at maybe 4 or 5 repeats of the lace. I'm not that trendy to wear that cropped of a top. So I went to 6 repeats, which is the number of repeats written for the larger size. And then I ended up modifying, maybe took out 2 rows. I think there was supposed to be an extra row, maybe between the end of the lace and the start of that garter. And then I think there was supposed to be 1 more row down here before the drop stitches, and I just didn't. I negated those rows and it worked out perfectly. I had just enough yarn. Not so much that I was playing yarn chicken. I never was afraid of running out. But I'm down to, you know, just kind of a small handful of yarn. So I was pretty happy with that. So it was not one of the 4 sweaters I had planned for the year. But I'm excited that it got done. Oh, there. So that'll be my sweater number 3. Because of that one being thrown in the mix, I may actually get more than my 4 that I'd planned on. If you want to join in the sweater along with me, I'm hosting it on Ravelry in the We Are Yarn Ravelry group. There is a chatter thread and for the whole year, and then there is a per quarter thread. Right now we're in quarter 3. If you're just now finding me and think this sounds like an amazing challenge to knit 4 sweaters in the year, never fear. I'm not requiring that you finish 1 sweater each quarter along with me. If you finished a sweater already this year and you're just now finding me, you know what? I'm going to let it go. Go and submit it in this quarter's thread. If you want to knit all 3 sweaters, or all 4 sweaters, you know, in a quarter because you're a machine and can do that, go for it. I'm not particular. So, just 4 sweaters, sleeves covering much of the arm, torso covering much of the torso. And it works. Knit, crochet, weave, it's all good. I wanted to have more hand knit garments in my wardrobe and use up some stash. And so that's all I want for all of us, is to have more hand knit garments. So each quarter, if you're new, again, each quarter, at the end of the quarter, I'll draw from the sweaters that were entered that quarter and give away a sweater pattern prize. Pattern of your choice, giftable on Ravelry. Price is not an option. Single pattern. Please don't ask for a collection. At the very end, those who have knit 4 sweaters will be entered for the grand prize drawing. The grand prize, as it stands right now, are a set of sheep shaped lockable stitch markers that I picked up for you guys at they're made by Clover. The lovely Ashley of Twist Fiber Studio has donated a sweater's quantity worth of yarn, and she's open to whatever. Fingering weight, you know, any of the bases she carries, and she'll dot to order, so any of her colorways, which is awful generous. And then Rick of Whimsy Stitches, WHIMZEE Stitches, has generously donated a bag to hold it all. I know. I told you guys I was going to make it awesome, and I'm pretty certain that does it. So, do not delay. Let me hear those needles clicking. Let's churn out some sweaters. Alright, so that's the sweater along. The other big thing happening right now is the Tour de Fleece. So I feel like I'm coming back home. I've started sitting at my wheel every day. I had tried to start this before the tour. I wasn't very successful, but the tour has really helped me find a rhythm of sitting at the wheel every day. And I usually get up early in the morning and do it. If it's a very early morning for me at work, I'll sit down for a few minutes while I'm waiting on my child to fall asleep. So I have successfully completed during the tour the second of 2 bobbins. Oh, check. I got another basket. I love it. It holds my spinning stuff. So I have now successfully completed 2 bobbins of the white Corriedale that was very generously donated by Louette to the podcast a while back. This Corriedale was an amazing spin. It was I understand what the hype is. The goal is to ply these together, and then along with this previously spun fiber, these will become a Japan sleeves by Hobie Locatelli one day. So they know what they want to grow up to be, and I'm really excited about it. I then spun a gradient that you unfortunately can only see the back end of. But it had some, I wish you could see better. These are bobbins that were 3D printed for me by my husband. And I can kind of see in there, but there's no way you'll be able to. I think this was called Grand Canyon, the colorway was. I don't want to lie. So I'm going to dig through the giant basket. Get down, just get down. Alright, so this was a beautiful braid of fiber from River's Edge Fiber Arts. I think I probably bought this Fiber in the Burrow maybe a few years back, but it was called Grand Canyon Suite. So if you think about the Grand Canyon, you know, you have the greens and blues of the water, but then there are also in this braid browns as well, and kind of that, what color would you call the dirt in the Grand Canyon, the rock formations in the Grand Canyon? Maybe not coral, the reddish, the red dirt, the peachy red. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen the pictures. That color is represented in this braid. So this was her softest silk Polworth, which is 75% Polworth and 25% soft as silk viscose. And it was a really lovely spin. I really like how the viscose didn't take up any dye at all. And so you kind of get the touches of white through it. It was a really nice spin. I really enjoyed it. I think because it had sat in my stash long enough, there were some felty bits. But I'm not blaming the purveyor of River's Edge for that. So that was nice. And I'm now working on, I even took it off the bobbin for you. And I saw the tag. Here it is. Now I'm working on Apothecary Fabrications. This is a fine merino wool, 21 micron. She didn't put a colorway on it, but when I was purchasing it at SAF last year, I heard her say that her husband had thrown out calling it maybe Phoenix. But it's yellows and oranges and reds, and then that deep brown and almost black, but it's really just a really, really dark burgundy. And it has some undyed pieces to it as well. So here it is where I had split it. I split it down the Corriedale being undyed. I just spun from end to end. The braid, the gradient braid, I just spun end to end. I'm going to chain ply that. I'm planning on chain plying this as well, but I wanted the color repeats to be a bit shorter. I'm planning to knit this into a Christmas gift. So since I wanted it to be a little bit shorter, I divided it long ways in half and then in half again, just so that each chunk of color is smaller. And so I have 1, 2 little nests and then this little bit left. So I'm not quite halfway done, but I'm really enjoying it as well. It's not quite as felty as the River's Edge, and so again, I don't know if that's because it hasn't sat in my stash as long. I don't know if, like I said, the purveyor of the River's Edge maybe handled those braids a little roughly. I'm not sure. But that's been my spinning for Tour de Fleece, and I love, you know, having a morning routine that involves just 10 minutes sitting at the wheel. It's nice. I recommend it if you can. Okay, the kiddo is still planted in the bed. Alright, so let's talk about my whip. I finished the Deschamps, and it was an in the round. I did have to pay attention to the lace and keep up with what row I was on. I had to look at the pattern to read the row, but then I was able to just knit it. It wasn't very hard for me to memorize what to do on that row. I am going to say, if you do decide to do as I did and change it to in the round, you need to remember that you are going to have to rewrite the instructions for your lace, running the opposite direction and not purled on those reverse rows. Don't forget that. Alright, so I finished the Deschamps, and I needed a new cast on because, hello, can't have any idle needles around here. I don't have enough other things waiting to be finished. Hello, Christmas stockings. We're halfway to Christmas, by the way. So I cast on. I pulled this Malabrigo out of stash. It had been something previously that didn't fit, and it was too big, so I ripped it out. So I have 2 of these. Because it's Malabrigo, I'm alternating skeins. But these are 2 skeins each, these balls. They're big, big balls. So that is Malabrigo Rios in the, I don't want to lie to you, yes, Rios in the Purpurus colorway. And I am knitting this amazing thing because I have to be trendy, even though I'm not of an age really that supports being trendy, I don't feel like sometimes. But this is by Andrea Mowry. This is her May sweater, M-A-E. So this is written with a whole bunch of positive E's too. I'm going to tell you something. If you are like, look, I can't join your sweater along, because I'm scared to death to knit sweaters, because I'm afraid they won't fit. I used to be afraid of that too. I started trying to knit garments when the trend was more tighter fitting, not tight, but zero ease or very little positive ease. And anyway, so I thought that, you know, my gauge never worked out right, even if I did a swatch, and it was either it ended up too big or too small, and it was really, really difficult for me. But now that the trend is leaning more towards these oversized, boxy, sweatshirt style, even sweaters, it is so much easier for me to knit a sweater with confidence. Because if the sweater builds in 4 to 6 inches of positive ease, I'm not pulling my hair out about should I make a 38 inch or a 40 inch size, because that 2 inches of ease is not really going to be that noticeable on the end product. So that's going to be my word of wisdom, other than I hope you ate a bowl of ice cream with me during my ice cream social. It's also going to be, if you're scared to death of knitting a garment for yourself, I feel like now is the time to get on the bandwagon while the trend is on these bigger, not so form-fitting sweaters. And this is mine now, the May. Andrea Mowry. So this is knit in one piece from the bottom up. It has those sweet little sleeves that are really, I'm pretty certain all I'm going to have to do is pick up and knit that ribbing that you see there on the sleeve, because it is written with so much positive ease that that's just to close up the hole. So you do have, you can see from the little schematic, you do have some short row shaping to make the back longer than the front. And I am past that point, and I am up to continue in pattern until X number of inches down the side seam. You do create some mock seams down the front and the sides, and it is written for broken stockinette, and this yarn in that texture is just working up to be just so beautiful. I mean, all kinds of lovely. I am alternating skeins since it is Malabrigo, and I'm not ashamed. I'll show you. Okay, I'm a little ashamed. When I was doing the short rows, I would switch every 2 rounds, and I was not very consistent on how I was doing that. And then after the short rows, something crazy happened. I'm not real sure what's going on there, but then I finally found my flow of how I was going to alternate my skeins. So you can see it's a little bit crazy down here, and then there's like, I don't even know what's happening, and now it's this, I'm getting this beautiful bar up the inside where I'm alternating my skeins. So that's the inside. This is the outside. The May by Andrea Mowry. It's written for some ungodly amount of ease, 12 inches of positive ease. And I'm knitting a size. I'm knitting the size 2, the medium, which is written for a 34-inch bust. And I'm not a 34-inch bust. But again, 12 inches of positive ease. 12 inches versus 8 inches of positive ease, I don't think you're going to notice. So, that's that. I'm really excited about it. I threw it in this bag from Twist Fiber Studios because I had intended to cast on another sweater, and I balled up a skein of that yarn and threw it all into my usual sweater bag by Whimsy Stitches, and then it never came to fruition. So after I finish the May, I'll probably do that one. But it's growing out of this bag. I think that other yarn is going to have to surrender its space because this is getting tight. Okay, finally, I wanted to talk about an almost faux. So I talked to you guys last time that I hope to finish my depth cowl by the next podcast. The depth cowl is a pattern written specifically for fiber seed yarn. I think you can do fingering weight up to worsted. If I remember right, it has a very broad range, and it's a study in planned pooling. And this is the apple cider colorway, and it looks kind of wonky because I have started joining it together. I did indeed finish my knitting. Yay! However, now I have to join the ends together. Boo. Boo, because it's a crafting chore for me. I do not enjoy... There's a reason why I did the Deschamps in the round. It's because I don't like that finishing work. And after the knitting is done and the needles are down, I feel like I should be done. This is why I knit socks toe up. So, yeah, guys, so here's the deal. This is my knitting chore. I have gotten it started. I had to look up a video on this kind of hybrid between the mattress stitch and the Kitchener stitch, where I have one set of stitches is live on the needles, and I'm trying to join that with the cast on edge, which I did not, when I cast it on, I was not in a position where I could cast it on with like Judy's Magic Cast On or whatever, some sort of provisional cast on. This is exactly how much, so I'm almost a quarter of the way, almost a quarter, well no, okay, yeah, I'm a quarter of the way around my cowl, and I was throwing my hands up. My length of yarn, my tail, is just amazingly long. Not long enough that I think I could gotten a solid row and then still had enough to join it, but so long a tail, and I'm scared to death to cut it, because if I do, I'll have 3 stitches at the end that I can't bind off because I cut it. So, and I know, yeah, okay, I could work around that, but guess what? I don't want to. I also don't want to be pulling this darning needle for miles forever. I got so frustrated with it. It has sat on, I'm pretty certain, back on the 1st when I recorded last. I'm pretty certain I finished the knitting that day or the next. And it has been sitting on a bookshelf since then. Me just being angry at it. So please come throw me a message in Ravelry or Instagram. Throw a message in the forum or in the comment section below on YouTube. You can go to Ravelry and throw me comments there. I'm sorry if you're watching me on the website. I am horrible about checking comments there. I'm so bad. So bad. But I need you guys to tell me, do you have crafting chores that you have to do that you hate? how do you handle it? I'm very near putting this in the car on Sunday when I go to my knit group, and that being the only thing I take, and sitting at the table in the back of the yarn shop, and that being the only thing I have to do. So I'll do it. Maybe. Or I could buy more yarn and start a new project. There's always that, but I don't think I'll do that. So, excuse me. With that final yawn, I'm going to sign off for today's podcast. And it is Thursday. I hope to get this up by the weekend. Editing and uploading is quite the process for me now. Just trying to juggle when I'm going to do the uploading, when I have time to sit down and edit, and when I have the use of the internet to upload. So it's just, bear with me. And editing is going to take a long time for this one because I had a lot of interruptions. I need to go, guys. Thank you so much, so much for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed the ice cream social. We're going to make it a thing. It's going to be a thing. I need to write down that I'm titling this ice cream social. And I will talk at y'all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
I just can't wait to finish. I got the kitten knitting blues. No, I just can't wait to finish. That's why I got those kitten knitting blues.
All right, I have absolutely no idea where I was.